Wow, that's great. Sounds like I need to give her a call. Yes, she definitely helped our son find the perfect college, meet all his deadlines, and help us feel less anxious about the whole process. You need to reach out to her. Just check out educationprepcenters.com and set up a complimentary assessment with Dr. Gina. You'll be so glad you did. Education Prep Centers. College admissions made easy.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feathershare Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Featherchair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
I'm Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog. You know, when I get the hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleveland, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleveland, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone number is 817-556-1040.
This is Wilford Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Reach Across Johnson County segment on Joco Community Radio. You can join us live here on Facebook or download the TuneIn Radio app. It's free, where we are live 365 on Joco Community Radio, the voice of Johnson County, Texas. To share a little bit about Reach, our mission is to support safe and healthy choices vital to the well-being of our youth, families, and community. The show will guide you, educate you, and inspire you to be a part of the solution and to reach out and help make a difference in our communities. What began as a local movement in the city of Midlothian grew to include programs throughout Ellis County with only a few years and eventually expanded into neighboring Johnson County, Texas. And so here we are today. I do want to share a few announcements real quick before we get started on our show tonight. I wanted to remind everybody that the DEA prescription drug take-back event is going to be coming up on Saturday, April the 30th. And I know of several locations, and I'll share those, and I'm sure our guest probably have some information that they might be able to share as well. In Alvarado, the police department is going to set up at the town square at 600 South Frowell Street. In Burleson, the police department are going to set up at the Walmart parking lot at 951 Southwest Wilshire Boulevard. In Cleburne, they'll be at the Municipal Court parking lot at 303 West Henderson. And in Venus, they'll be at the Exxon Tiger Mart at 101 US Highway 67. And you can clean out your medicine cabinets and bring any expired or unused medications to these drop box locations. It's kind of a drive up and drop off. It's totally anonymous. A lot of times there's going to be little giveaway items that we'll have. Be sure that to check out for some of our members from REACH. We're going to be at several of these locations.
And I think the time is 10 a.m. to 2, I know for
So
sure.
10 to 2 is the standard, but I know some places may start at 9 o'clock or whatever, depending on, what they have as far as staffing to be able to work these events. Do y'all have a location as well?
We do. Cook Children's is planning an event at 7000 Calmont Avenue in Fort Worth, and that zip code is 76116. That's a Cook Children's location.
Awesome. And, if you're listening outside the Johnson County area, be sure to go to the DEA website and look at take back events. And they have a place that you can go in and enter your zip code, and it'll tell you the closest drop box location for you. But it's real important that you clean out your medicine cabinets, because our youth, their number one point of access to drugs is in home medicine cabinets. And so, as the DEA says, don't be the dealer. So again, clean out your medicine cabinets and safely drop them off at this location. And they're disposed of in an environmentally safe way, so they don't end up in our landfills and in our water supply. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or through our website if you have any questions about the DEA Take Back events coming up on Saturday, April the 30th. And we have some special guests in studio with us this evening. And our topic this evening is going to be water safety and lifeguard your child. We have Dr. Daniel Guzman and Dana Walraven that are here with us. And I'm going to share a little information on the both of you. And again, welcome to the Reach Across Johnson County show.
Thank you.
Dr. Guzman is a pediatric emergency physician at Cook Children's Medical Center and has been on staff since 2003. In 2017, he started AIM for Safety, a firearm awareness program focused on educating both children and parents on the dangers of having an unsecured and loaded firearm in the home. Dr. Guzman's goal is to reduce the number of unintentional firearm injuries seen in the I just lost my spot. I apologize. Dr. Guzman's goal is to reduce the number of unintentional firearm injuries seen in children that present in the emergency department and to encourage the use of firearm safety devices. He is passionate about the injury prevention and works closely with the Center of Children's Health as an advocate for educating our community about all injury prevention topics. I swear I'm a little tongue-tied this evening for some reason. Dr. Guzman is a medical director for the transport team at Teddy Bear Transport and provides day-to-day direction and education for the staff. Currently, he serves on multiple committees at Cook's, including the Hospital Quality Improvement Committee, the Trauma Improvement Committee as trauma liaison for the emergency department, and the Surgical Clinical Excellence Committee. He is an executive member and secretary of the Emergency Physicians Advisory Board that provides medical direction to MedStar and surrounding EMS agencies. He also serves as co-medical director for the North Central Texas Trauma Regional Advisory Council, providing direction and development of protocols for the hospital in the region. Dr. Guzman currently provides education and training for medical students from both TCU School of Medicine and the UNT Health Science Center. Currently, Dr. Guzman is conducting research on how to improve firearm safety practices in the home. In his free time, he trains for half and full marathons with his wife. That's very impressive. Very good. And then I'm going to share.
I mean, not just everything else, but then the marathons at that.
I know, really. That's awesome.
Amazing.
It's all my wife.
She keeps you going.
Keeps me going, exactly.
Absolutely. We also are joined by Dana Walraven. She is the manager of community health at the Center of Children's Health at Cook Children's Healthcare System. Dana has her BS Elementary Early Childhood Education College of of Charleston, South Carolina. She is certified child life specialist, and she has her certification in child passenger safety technician and as an instructor. Dana has been working in the healthcare field for over 25 years and has been an employee of Cook Children's for 23 years.
Wow.
10 of which were in the emergency department as a child life specialist. Since then, she has led injury prevention initiatives and community coalitions, transitioning Safe Kids Tarrant County to Safe Kids North Texas, based in Fort Worth, where they now proudly serve 11 counties. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Her career has come full circle, and she now helps prevent families from ending up in the emergency department where she used to work, and she finds that quite rewarding. Wow, that is amazing. And as you can tell, I'm not a real professional, so.
What, a radio professional?
Yeah, I'm not a radio professional. I'm just an everyday person, and I get tongue-tied just like everybody. So
I thought you did good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So again, welcome. We love having you come in. We love in-studio guests.
I'm really excited about this, not only because y'all are in person, but just because we've been trying to do this for about a year or so. So I was like, we're getting this done before the summer comes because it's important. So thank y'all for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Definitely.
Well, I'd seen a post, and actually we also shared it, where there, water safety. There was a deal with some statistical information of drownings that have already taken place up through, recently in April. And so, I mean, it's shocking, the amount of kids that have been, killed or injured, due to, drownings. So,
yeah, we feel so fortunate to be here to spread the message. We are seeing an unprecedented number of children coming to Cook Children's to be treated for drownings. I believe so far since January, we've had 17 drownings, 3 of which ended up in death. And so
Breaks
we
my heart.
really want to share just an alert with families that this is happening, and it's not just during a particular time of year, especially in Texas. We have warm climates, and we really have access to water all year round. And so we want to just bring up some tips for families.
And when you think about it, drowning is not just a summer thing.
Right.
And that's kind of what we traditionally think about drowning. It's in the summertime. But this is happening all year round. And the numbers are, alarming, as Dana pointed out, that we've already seen more than we saw last year.
Oh my
In the
goodness.
first 4 months. So that's definitely scary. As an ER physician, knowing that's, occurring, and we're seeing that in the ER, it's definitely devastating and a tragic events. I mean, because these are all preventable, right? In the end, these are all preventable injuries that we can do something about.
Do y'all see it in a certain age group?
Well, the highest risk area are children between the ages of 1 to 4.
Okay.
But when we talk about lakes, the injuries can potentially triple for teens around 15 years of age. And so, any child can swim, even those who have had swim lessons. But the risk area, the ones we see most of, are between the ages of 1 to 4.
Yeah, and definitely we think about pools, we think about lakes, but we also are seeing an increase in the number of drownings in buckets or toilets and bathtubs. So those are other places that we don't traditionally think about in home. We're like, oh, well, we're taking a bath, and you step away for a minute or two to go grab the phone or answer the door. But those are the highest risk times. And when you think about children, they can drown in 1 inch of water, which is not a whole lot of water.
It's not a whole lot at all, and I never even realized that until I think Shari was telling me.
Yeah, I'd heard 2 inches, but 1 inch. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's really just enough to cover the nose and the mouth where you can't breathe, and then you have a drowning.
Yeah, if you leave a little one in, then they can't flip back over or something like that. That is so scary.
Yeah.
I never thought about that before until I started having kids, and then we had a few friends that had swimming pools, and it's like I was so paranoid about the swimming pools and everything that I never even thought about, like you said, buckets and things like that, or toilets, because they have a tendency to go and want to put things in the toilet, and if they go in to reach for it, I mean, I could definitely see that happening.
Well, if you think about it too, they're so top heavy. Their heads are heavy. They're not coordinated, and they can look down and deep into something, but they might not be able to get back up.
Right.
I didn't think about when you said phones, when we were growing up, that wasn't something that our parents dealt with, was looking at the phones or YouTube or whatever is in front of them to keep them from being bored or whatever. But Yes, that's definitely something that parents these days, young parents, really have to focus on.
I think there's so many distractions, right? I mean, you think about
Mhm.
just your daily life and how busy we all are, but then you got a phone to that, and
Mhm.
whatever you may be doing on the phone, we really just need to concentrate on if it's bath time, we're there with the kids,
Right.
we're
Yeah.
watching the kids until we're done with bath time, and then we get them out and we drain the tub. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you can quickly just forget to do that as you're drying off the child, and you walk away from that, and then they find their way back to the bathroom. And the kids are curious. It's part of their nature. They're going to find things. They're going to get into things, and we want to just get parents aware of those possibilities.
Because it can take what 20
Seconds.
seconds.
Yeah. When you think about drowning, it's just like Dana said, it's just water that goes into the lungs, and that is classified as a drowning. And we've had this kind of conversation, and it's actually a national and a worldwide conversation about what is a drowning. What does that really mean versus a near drowning? And when you think about drowning and what we're trying to get away from, because there's all different types of drownings that we used to talk about: wet drownings, dry drownings, and so near drownings. But now we're trying to make it simple. So if you're have water in your lungs, that is a drowning.
Okay.
Now, what we try to focus on is the outcome. What does that mean to your child? So if you drowned and you end up in the ER or in the hospital for a stay, what was the outcome? Was there a mortality? Was there some significant brain damage as a result of that, or was that child able to go home normal? And so that's where I think we need to classify and discuss more, and put the emphasis on any child who goes under the water and has water in their lungs. Or a kid or two, and it's more laryngospasm. So it's kind of the upper larynx area that has a laryngospasm, and that could just be from inflammation, or it could be from an allergic reaction,
Okay.
and the irritation of having water in and around
there.
the area. Yeah. So, but it's very rare. That's something that's very rare that we don't really see past that first 4 to 6 hour mark of a drowning. If we're going to have significant issues, you're going to see that within that first few hours.
Okay. How long after? I mean, if something was to happen that a child was going under and somebody didn't notice right away, how is there a certain time that you still are able to resuscitate or get the water out of their lungs?
We say we resuscitate no matter what, right?
Okay,
So
right.
the first thing you want to do is obviously remove the child from the water,
Okay.
And you want to start CPR at that
Okay.
point. You want to, if there's enough, there's someone else there with you, you want to call 911, have somebody go and
Okay.
call 911. If there's any concern for trauma, you also want to protect the neck. And so
Okay.
if somebody dove into the pool and now they're face down, and if somebody saw that, then you want to protect their neck so there's no cervical spine or spinal cord injury that they
Okay.
suffer in addition to the drowning. So, but the first and foremost thing is you start CPR. You provide them an airway. You provide them
Okay.
that support, that cardiac support that they need while you're
Okay.
waiting for EMS to arrive.
Okay. So chest compressions and breaths.
Yes, I think everyone, with little ones, and if you have a pool, and if you don't have a pool, I think CPR is an important thing that
to
we
know.
should all have.
Yeah.
And I want to say I had a child that aspirated after surgery, and I worked in foster care, like program director, etc., for 15 years, and we would have the yearly trainings. And I know in that moment, parents just like freeze, and
Mhm.
I can say that's what happened to me. So it's hopefully someone there. I mean, I don't even know how to tell anybody to stay calm and just do what you have to do, because I just couldn't do anything. I was like a floating, not even knowing what was going on. So that so easy to say. And then some parent, I mean, I don't know how many parents struggle with that, but I know I did.
It's definitely hard. I mean, even for myself and my own kids, when they have something that happens to them, you kind of take a moment to kind of figure out what's going on and then how to respond. And then things kind of kick in naturally. I think for all of us, even in the ER, you take a minute, you kind of get
Get your bearings,
figure out what the situation is, and then things just go. And I think with parents, it's the same thing. You that drive to want to help your baby, no matter what, is going to kick in.
Yeah, I actually had a situation happen that was like that. And anytime that there was somebody with me, I mean, I was kind of like, I would be freaking out and they would have to deal with it. But the one time that I was by myself with my child, and we were getting ready to go swimming, and he was putting on his water wingies and wanted to do it himself, and he went to pull and he lost his balance and he fell and hit the corner of the coffee table, and it went right through his chin. And I was the only one home with him at that point, and it was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And it's like, so I picked him up, took him to the bathroom, and of course he spit blood. I grabbed a wash rag, got in the car, took off for the hospital. But my mom and them had just left.
Yeah.
And so they were headed to the dentist office. And what was weird is instead of going to the emergency room,
You went to them?
I went to the dentist office, which was on the way. But I laid on the
We
horn
still
and
need
they-
our parents.
And I did good until they took him from my arms. And once they took him from my arms, I just went to pieces
Mhm.
at that point. So I think if a situation arises and you're the only one there, it kicks
Kind
in.
of kicks in.
it
Yeah, I
kicks
wasn't by
in.
myself. My husband was there. And I was like, have you even had a CPR class? 'Cause, I mean, it just happens. They know what to do.
But
But
you know, a lot of that is just the unexpected. And so what we really try to let families know is try to plan ahead, do some home safe proofing, look around your home, whether it's inside and outside, see what types of things a child can get into.
Yeah.
Now, no one would have probably expected the corner of a
coffee table. Hey,
but
I
I'll
got rid
tell
of
you,
all
that
mine.
happens more than you think.
Yeah. After that, all my coffee tables were gone.
But if caregivers can practice that plan, whether it's a
Yeah.
parent, a grandparent, a babysitter, so that they know if something happens,
Mhm.
I know the address of where I am, I know how to get to the phone and call. Seconds count, don't they, Dr.
yeah,
Guzman?
definitely. Yeah.
And so call for help, and just try to prevent as much as possible. Keep the cabinets locked for poisons.
Mhm.
Keep the doors and the screens locked for the windows, and circling back to drownings and preventing those. With the risk area of 1 to 4, we know that kids are exploring.
Oh, yeah.
That's in their nature, and they gravitate toward the water. They don't have the
Mhm.
experiences yet in life to know the dangers of it. So they're gravitating. So they're going to pull on those doorknobs. They're going to push on the window screens, and they're going to crawl through the doggy doors. We have these experiences
Mhm.
at Cook
The
Children's,
hospital.
and these are the things that happen. So we like families to create a home plan if they have a backyard pool, or when they're visiting a pool.
That's right.
You need, if it's a pool that you're not familiar with, look around to see what potential barriers you should put in place so when the child is out of sight, they can't get to the water.
I love that. I didn't think about, warning parents about visiting. They're, that's something that you probably think you're new. Everyone's going to be watching, and then it's not the
Well,
case.
I just got to thinking about, we have dogs, and we have those little swimming pools that we put out for our dogs during the summer months. I actually have 2 new grandbabies, and I'm got to thinking, I really need to relook and
They
rethink
say
some of these
those to
things.
turn them upside down, right? Whenever the kids or
Yeah,
young
definitely.
kids are around, to not even
Okay.
have them where water because
Yeah.
rainwater or anything can fill up
Can
in
fill
those.
up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know, and I've got buckets. As you said, I need to go and just take a good view at everything and see where some potential dangers.
What are the main things y'all see in the ER? Like the pools, or is it?
Well, it's a combination of pools and bathtubs.
Okay.
And so we don't see as many lake drownings as you hear. And then again, like Dana said, that population of drownings is actually the older adolescent
Mhm.
group who feel a little bit more fearless and ready to
Mhm.
go. And I think as parents, looking at your younger kids, you're going to be a little bit more, close to them when they're out in the open water, if you will. But a lot of them are pools and bathtubs.
So with that, we have some of the questions. I guess y'all wrote, or did we come up with these?
No,
I
they
don't-
they,
Oh,
no, they
awesome.
provided.
What are some
the
safety
talking
tips that
points.
y'all
Yeah.
have for the swimming pools?
Yeah.
Gosh, well,
Well, let's split them into 2, and Dr. Guzman and I can kind of piggyback on one another. But when you're at the pool and it's planned swim time versus unplanned swim time. So that's what we kind of like to point out.
Okay.
When it's planned swim time and the caregivers with their children around the pool, you want to make sure that you have a designated water watcher. That's first and foremost. And what that is, in fact, we have water watcher tags.
I love
today. I
these.
know I do too.
These are such an easy tool for an adult. I preface adult because we don't want this responsibility on a child. They're distracted, and it's just not their responsibility. But it should be an adult designated to know how many kids are in the pool, count the heads, stay in reach so that if someone does get tired in the middle of the pool, or if they're not the strongest swimmer, you can be right there and scoop them up if they need some help. But then after an amount of time, they can switch watchers.
Another person. Yeah.
Yes, give it to another adult, then it's their turn. That way it's not one person all day long. And if you don't have a party of people right there, if it's one caregiver, give yourself a break. Take time to get all the kids out of the pool. Make sure they're all going with you inside if that's the case. Because what we also see sometimes is people transition inside and then a child goes back and you can't hear drowning. And so we want to make sure that all the kids are accounted for.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's great.
I know we've got the little magnet here too that talks about the bathtub pools in open waters and lakes. So we'll have some of those that we'll be able to hand out.
These bracelets, I used to, I worked at ACH Child and Family Services for years, and I would come pick these up from y'all's office and hand them out to our foster parents at trainings because you always, especially at holidays or family gatherings, to me, you think everybody's watching whoever because there's uncle, aunt, grandma. But the thing is, everybody's so excited to be around each other and they're talking that nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And I love this because my husband actually has one of these on because we just moved out to a farm, and the probably second or third night he left the water on. And of course, my dad, who lives back on the property, noted that his cell phone lets him know about the water meter. And he calls me the next morning, who left the water on? And I'm like, Heath did. And we already put one of these, just a hair tie for me on that way when he goes to turn the water on, he can look down and remember to go turn it off.
Oh, that's
Same
smart, yeah.
thing. I mean, this is so important to be able to pass off.
Yeah, and if there's a party of people, a lot of people will put a schedule together, and so when your time is, because it is so easy to get distracted, and everyone thinks someone's watching when no one's watching. So that's really an easy way to make sure you have a hold of it. And another new creative thing people are doing is getting a lifeguard. They're contracting a lifeguard to come to their party, and they're the designated person. And so that's not a bad idea. But if you're not able to do that, a simple water watcher schedule is a really good plan.
And I guess that water watcher does not need to be on their phone.
No.
Exactly.
No, that's always the husbands. I'm like, can you put your phone down while you're watching the pool, please?
Oh, goodness. Well, let's talk about what are some of the safety tips for bathtub. Let's go ahead and just cover that as well.
So, we talked about earlier, distractions. I think a distraction-free bath is what we should be doing with our children. That's so important. I think, and that time is really, I think, cool to have with your kids as well. So you can use that in different ways, and not just a chore for it's time to take a bath. And I think that's one of the key things is, if the phone's ringing or the doorbell, anything else going on, it should be whatever amount of time, distraction-free, watching our babies, getting them cleaned, and then getting them out of the bath, and then definitely draining the water. That's another key part of that, is making sure that we're draining.
Because they want to go sneak back in.
They do. Yeah.
They do. And if there are siblings who maybe it's their bath time, to remind them to drain the tub when they're done. That sometimes is what happens, is it's somebody else altogether taking a bath, but the child can go right in that open door. So
I'm a mom of twins, so I'm sure other moms of multiples feel my pain. You want to tackle both and just get it done. But I remember one time the twins were like 2, and I had them both in there, and I grabbed one, literally just was drying him off standing there. And and you think by 2 they're sitting up good, but you're right, they're top heavy. And one fell in the way, just the trauma that caused me just to watch. And I never again, I would just shut the bathroom door, let our older daughter know, and that way they weren't both in there, because you just don't know. And if you've got 2 in there, or even if there's a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old and you think you're trying to get it done, it's just a few seconds.
It's hard. I mean, it becomes a difficult task, right? When you have more than one in there, and you're trying to run the house, and you got other kids. It's
you want to try to contain them all, but
parents are so well-meaning, and we balance so much in the day. But this is something we don't want to take a chance on. So balance the other things. But when it's time for your child in and around water or some of these other danger zones around the home, it's just best to take
It
that time.
is.
It's great bonding time.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when I hear in the ear, when I see folks that come in, one of the comments you always hear is, "I never thought it was going to happen to me."
Oh,
And this is where
yes.
you kind of planning ahead, making sure that we are doing all those things, like Dana said earlier, having a home safety plan. You review that for whatever it is, whether it's the pools, firearms, poisons, but you review that so you have a plan so that when something does happen, that freak out moment is not so bad.
Right.
And then you kind of realize, okay, what do I got to do next? What's my next step in this process of doing something? And so I think the same thing with baths and watching our kids that's important.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you think about the kids and as they grow, you want to include them in the process so they know, let's say there's an emergency, how to get out of the house. What are your options? And practice that just like they do at school.
I love that.
Well, I tell you what, stay tuned with us. We will be back with Dr. Guzman and Dana and talk about water safety. Thank you.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
You're listening to JoCo Community Radio.
And welcome back to the second half of the Reach Across Johnson County segment on JoCo Community Radio. We are proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and it is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or to watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The JoCo Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store, check out the lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more are brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-TEX-HAIL at 844-839-4245.
Good job.
Yeah, I made it through without fumbling that one. I don't know what my deal is today, but it's like, oh my goodness, I'm tripping over my tongue. Well, again, we are joined this evening by Dr. Guzman and Dana, and we're talking about water safety. And so I know we just kind of finished talking about bathtub safety tips. What about some safety tips for swimming in the lakes and the rivers?
Well, there's so much. Texas has a lot of lakes. We have a lot of open water. We have ponds. We have tanks in the back of some of our properties. And so it's really interesting to kind of think of that a little bit different than pools. And so you still want to have a water watcher because a child around water is a potential danger. But I do want to say Cook Children's really encourages families to be around the water. It's such a healthy activity where you do have bonding time, you have time to relax, but you want to put certain things in place. So when we're talking about lakes, just realize, gosh, or think about how murky they are. You can't always see to the
Right.
bottom like you can a pool. So what's underneath that water? You want to think about whether a child can swim, or if they can't, or if they're not the strongest. You want to think about having a life jacket. It always has to be a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket. I want to preface that because a lot of life jackets look the same. And we don't always look at labels, right? Who
That's
reads
true.
the
I
stuff
didn't even
anymore?
know that. So what's the difference?
So there are some life jackets out there, and they're on the market at places that we typically shop. And if you look at the label, it might read, "This is not a life-saving device." So it might be something they call a trainer or something, and expect a parent just to be on the, just like the little water wings. They can
Right.
blow them up and you can slide them up on a child's arm. But if they become deflated, or even if they don't, they hold up an arm, but not the head. That's where we need to breathe.
Right.
So any kind of life jacket, you want to look at the label. It should read U.S. Coast Guard approved. If it's not, then it's not been tested to keep a
Okay.
child's head above the water. If
That
it-
is good to know.
Yeah.
Really good to know.
Yeah, I did not know that.
You also want to make sure the life jacket fits, because I remember growing up too, we always were given life jackets, but they would just kind of threw them to everyone to put on, and you could slip right through some of those. So you want to make sure you have a good snug fit so that the child is really going to be protected and it's going to do its job. If it's not well fitted, again, you might have a child that slips right through. It's not going to keep them above the water.
Okay. Yeah, I know that some that we've gotten for the kids, because we take the boat out every now and then, and I know that on our kids, when I say kids, these are, 6 and 7-year-olds, their life jacket still has the strap that goes up underneath. So I know I don't like actually getting into the lake water because of what's not being able to see, and I hate when fish or something come up next
It
to
gives
me.
me
freaks out.
anxiety. I can go to the lake, but with my kids and even like the ocean, I just want them to be close. It's just so scary. It's like a parent's nightmare. What can happen?
It can be, but it can also be just a very memorable summer if you
can.
do it right. And
Yeah.
so, in addition to the murkiness, there are different kinds of currents and different
Right.
depths. And so, because you can't always tell, there could be some drop offs and you think it's really shallow, but in one extra step, you're going to go down.
Yeah.
And so, you want to stay in close reach. You want to have those life jackets on, and you also want to just kind of keep an eye on them in case of currents and other dangers that might be around.
Speaking of the currents and everything, we had a family member. They had gone to, I guess it was in Florida, Destin or someplace, and 2 of the kids got caught up into a current. Luckily, they had floaties, and I don't know if they had life jackets. I never did hear of that, but luckily they had a flotation device. But it took somebody that knew how to go in and actually do it to get them back out. And I know we don't think about things like that. So anytime that you're getting out near the water, whether it be the lake, the ocean, out at the Gulf or whatever, you should, like you said, plan ahead.
Plan ahead, wear a life jacket. I think that's really important. And with boats as well. I mean,
Yes.
it's the law in Texas that all children should have a life jacket on. So I think
Hey,
that's
if I
really
get in the water, I have a life jacket.
And I
What's
think-
the age of that? Up till
I think it's up to 14.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to check.
Yeah, I think it's up to 14.
Okay. I mean, I would want my 17-year-old to have it, but
I know if I get in the water, I'm going to have a life jacket on, because you never know. And, people get tired. And we've had situations that we were in the water and the boat started floating away. And it's like, okay, I'm glad we had our life jackets on at that point.
Well, when you also think about CO2, so carbon monoxide,
Yes.
CO rather, and how that can affect someone who's been on a boat all day long, that can definitely make you sleepy as you're in the water, and then you jump in the water and you're kind of already a little bit out of it. And
I
then,
never even thought about that, but that's true.
If they leave the motor running and instead of cutting it off while you're in the water.
Lake enforcement really wants everyone in a boat to have access to a life jacket. The weather can change at any moment. You can, the boat can flip, and they want a safety device for everyone, even an adult. But we talk about boats, and just remember when that transition time is happening, this is something that we've seen as well. Everyone's distracted trying to get the coolers and the towels and everything off the boat. Where is the child? So make sure that they're escorted off the boat up the dock and onto dry land, and insight while all that other is
I
happening.
love that.
I think it's a really good key is the water watcher. That person continues the water watching even on land,
Yes.
and you continue that until you're
It's like
away from the water.
things that we do and we're, trying to get off the lake real fast or get everything packed at the beach and nobody's watching at
Yeah.
that time. So
Yeah.
that's good. I'm
That's a
glad y'all
key
listed
point.
that.
Transition.
Yeah, we got to put some of those. on
Did
the
we
boat.
talk about, I know we talked about there's been 17 drownings this year, but are there any other statistics that y'all think we should share?
Well, I have a big one.
Okay.
Last year, about 60% of the drownings we treated were during unplanned swim time. So earlier we were talking about planned swim time and the water watchers and staying in reach and putting kids in swim lessons. But also consider that unplanned swim. That's when parents don't expect the child to be around the water. And that's when we might all be inside. They get out of our sight. So many Texas homes have a backyard pool, apartment pool, hotel pool. They really, we have a lot of access to water in Texas. And so just think about the risk area, those young explorers 4 and under trying to get to the water. So during unplanned swim time, what kinds of things can we plan ahead, that home safety plan ahead and look to see the more layers of protection you have in place, the safer the child. So it might be you have a 4-sided fence around the pool. That's great. But we know that's not 100%. Sometimes kids can, climb a table or a bench or something to get over that. So what else do you have in place? Maybe it's a pool alarm and a lock at the top of the door that accesses the pool area. So a child can't reach that when the parent maybe is in the next room. Any windows that access the pool area. Let's make sure, especially on a spring day in Texas, we've had some beautiful days. Let's make sure they can't push on the screen and get out to that pool area. Doggy doors are huge. We have seen a lot of children access the pool through a doggy door. So
See, I hadn't thought about that. I don't have a doggy door, but I mean, I know so many people that do. They have swimming pools, and so it does.
Do y'all ever see children access their neighbor's pool?
Yes,
Yep.
unfortunately. Yeah. So you want to think about your pool, your neighbor's pool, if they have one. And again, pools that you're visiting. So when you go and drop off your child or spending the day somewhere else, you really, no matter what the day is going to be planned for, whether it's swimming or just babysitting or anything with the child, you should look at the environment that you're leaving them in and seeing what potential dangers and what can I put in place to prevent that.
Yeah, I hate this. I mean, I feel like we're sounding like big fuddy-duddies. Like, well, you don't want to have any fun. But I think giving people the ideas of what we see in the ER, right? What happens?
Well,
and
no parent wants to experience this. So I think
that's why education is so important.
I don't feel like y'all are making it where nobody wants to go swimming. I think it's great for parents to consider the worst sometimes. I mean,
well, these are simple things too, right? Simple tips to make sure you have a lock on a door or that you have a way that they cannot get out through a window.
What's a pool alarm?
A pool alarm. There are so many pool alarms. There are alarms you can put in the pool. So if the water is broken, it can alarm off.
Wow.
Now, I'll say some may disregard it thinking a frog jumped in the pool or something, because some of them are quite sensitive, but there are even ones you can put on a child. So if you have a toddler who's in and out and you have a pool, if it's a little bracelet and they can lock it on, kind of like the old key locks for a roller skate. And so you can lock it on. There's no chokables on it for a toddler, but if they're submerged in any kind of liquid, it's going to alarm off. And so that is an easy thing a parent can know. Always check the pool first, right, Dr. Guzman?
Always. I think we've talked about this before, layers of protection. I think that's really important. You can probably get alarm fatigue pretty quick if you hear that going off constantly. But if you have other layers in there as well, then you can be a little bit more confident that, but I still need to go check it either way. Right. But you can still have some confidence that, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. All the layers kind of slow a child down, right? Because they're so active. So if they have to get through the door and then if they have to get through the fence and they have to get through all the layers you put in place, you might have a chance to catch them before they get in.
It'll slow them down, but it won't stop them.
Right.
Truly, kids, that's what they do.
Yes, especially if they've experienced the water and they don't understand what no is at the moment. They're wanting to get to that pool. Okay, y'all tell us about the Lifeguard Your Child program. Is that
Yeah,
Is
that's
it
a
something-
campaign that
Okay.
Cook Children's really feel strongly about. We developed this a few years back when we saw an increase in drowning incidents. We knew we had to do something. I mean, we know Texas, there are going to be drownings, but we were seeing a spike and it was happening quickly. It was affecting the staff at Cook Children's. They just wanted to do something about it. So we all got together as a system. It was really incredible and put a lot of strategies together. We had been working on drowning prevention, but we really stepped it up. We got signs out into community pools. We put a lot of water watcher tags out for families in as many counties and through as many of our coalition partners as possible. We were educating on the radio, the news, everywhere, just to spread the word. Hey, this is what's happening. This is what we're treating, and here's how to prevent it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Uh-huh.
And I guess where can they access the bracelets? Where do we want to?
That's a good question. All the things that we have worked hard to put together,
Uh-huh.
if they go to Lifeguard Your Child, they're going to be able to request signs or water watcher tags or life jackets.
Okay.
And so we are there for them if they will go to Lifeguard Your Child. It does
Is
have
that a website or?
it's our website. And what's
Okay.
fantastic about that, it really helps split up the drowning occurrences into learning more about pool safety,
Mhm.
lake safety, bathtub safety, and gives these easy tips that we might not have mentioned today. I mean, there are so many easy things to put in place. Like Dr. Guzman said, it's all preventable.
Do y'all have any, I guess, resources for parents that maybe want to get certified in CPR? Do y'all know where to send, or were we talking about having a place in Burleson in June, or was that something different for first aid?
No, that was that's different.
Okay.
That's the mental
Okay.
health first.
Well,
aid.
that's okay. What I can share with you is
Okay.
that one of our community partners, the Burleson Fire Department,
Uh-huh.
they actually will help a family for free learn CPR.
That's
So family
amazing.
CPR, you can go,
Okay.
just call them in advance and they'll
I
schedule
love
some time
that.
and
That's
do
cool.
that. They've shared with me it's okay to say that.
Okay, great. That's what I was going to ask, because I was sitting here and I was like, what about the families that really have no clue how to do CPR? So that's awesome.
That is really good.
What
You know,
else do we
we need to make sure that we have some of these at our next coalition meetings. so
Yes, we will
we
have
can
those
hand
at our,
out.
and then I might even see if Tiffany can have some up here in a basket if anybody wants to stop by in Johnson County at the radio show. We will post that if we do make that happen.
Absolutely.
And the website is also in Spanish and English, or English and Spanish.
Oh, awesome.
So
That is good.
And you know what? I will bring some of these bracelets to the drug take back.
Oh.
That would be a good resource to hand out to the different
Absolutely.
people that are coming through there.
You know, we also created a club. Cook Children's created the Water Safety Club. And what that allows is families to go on and become a member of our club. And that gives them access to free swim lessons.
Oh,
wow.
There's a tab right there on the website, and they can click it and see what partners are offering those lessons.
I think Coralie is in
yes, Sigma Swim.
Yes.
They do great. Burleson Brick. I mean, there's so many in each county. I can't list them all, but if a family goes on to watersafetyclub.org, they can become a member and see what partners are closest to them to learn how to swim, to learn free CPR, to request another life jacket, just a number of items. And we have a new item each quarter. Every
they
few
can
months.
request a life jacket as
They
well.
can request a life
Oh,
jacket. We have alarms for children in the risk areas of 1 to 4. We have bathtub kneelers that would encourage a parent to stay
That
by
is-
the bedside,
that is so true.
bathtub side.
Mhm.
Say that 3 times.
Really.
So we really do have a focus on all 3 of those areas: pool, lake, and bathtub.
So do they still go to the lifeguardyourchild.com for the water safety club? Is that
The Water Safety Club has its own. It's watersafetyclub.org. So super
.org.
easy.
Okay.
That's awesome.
We'll have to share all that
And
information.
we'll get Tiffany, or we can go in there and post it on the show as well
Okay.
in the notes.
Well, I know that we still got a little bit of time, about 10 minutes or so. So Cook Children's, what are y'all doing to prevent some of these tragedies? I know we just talked about the Lifeguard Your Child and Water Safety Club. Is there anything else that y'all are currently working on, or
Well,
does that cover that?
It's definitely a big part. I mean, we put a lot of work into both of those. So I think families will find a lot of resources on either of those sites. But we can also share that we have partners in 11 counties that are helping
awesome.
to make sure that if we can't get to that county, we have partners there who have a lot of these resources, who are going to be at some of the community events that are happening in their local area. They can go get a water watcher tag or sign up for swim lessons, get a fit for a life jacket. And so
I just realized she actually has a life jacket with. I did not notice that a few minutes ago. That's cool. So those are the type of life jackets that y'all have then.
Yes, we have these life jackets. And again, if you look on the inside, you would just want to find that U.S. Coast Guard approval. It's right there. We just want to make sure families
I
are
never knew to
looking
even
at the
look
label.
for that.
See, I
That's such a
didn't
key
either.
thing. Look at the labels. Know what you're putting on your child to
Okay.
know. Listen, if they like to splash around, if you're going to be right there and it's maybe a kiddie pool, stay right there, because as Dr. Guzman said, they can drown in such a small amount of water. But if they want to splash around, just know what is a toy type of accessory versus what is a life-saving device. They're two totally different things. I can also mention too, if families go to the lakes, Cook Children's has put loaner life jacket stations at a lot of our area lake entry points. So if they have forgotten a life jacket and you're going to the lake,
That's
at the
amazing.
entry point, you're going to see a big Cook Children's sign that has all sorts of different sizes for the child to fit. And it's got instructions in English and in Spanish on how to fit it correctly.
Oh,
So,
wow. That is amazing.
yeah, they can borrow it and just put it back when they're done.
Y'all have done so much for this. Like, I just love what you're doing for the community. It's amazing.
Yes.
And I want to hear, I was thinking when you were talking about the gun safety at the beginning, I was like, that could be its own show. That is,
Yes.
I mean, I guess if y'all want to talk a little bit about that, we could.
Yeah, we've still got about
Do you want to
8
share a
minutes.
little bit about what you see with gun safety? Because I think that's something we need to talk about.
No, I agree. And I think we appreciate you guys letting us be on here
Oh,
and having this
absolutely.
forum, because I think part of all of this doesn't work without education and a discussion about what's going on and what we're seeing, whether it's pools and drownings or firearms. And so firearms is my passion. That's what I do. And over the last 5 years, it's been a large campaign of mine is to reduce the number of firearm injuries. And it's as simple as, putting your guns away. It's not any more difficult, and we don't advocate, and we're not here to have a political opinion. This is all about saving kids' lives. And so simple steps as to putting your guns away, locking them in a strong box of some kind, separating the ammunition from that gun is also key. But as I look at this, and I've talked about this over the last 5 years, I've also realized you got to meet people where they're at. And this is part of the layers of protection and finding ways to get people to understand just the gravity of the situation. Again, they feel like it's not going to happen to me. I've talked to my children. They know what to do. They're well rehearsed in hearing that message, but they will repeat it to you just exactly how you told them. But when you put them to the test, it's a different story. And that's what I'm trying to show with some of the interventions that I'm doing is, gosh, and think about when you were a kid, you didn't always do everything your parents told you. And I grew up in a household full of guns that none of them were locked, all in a closet and all loaded. And so an accident waiting to happen that just, fortunately for me, never happened. Despite the fact that I went in there, I looked at him, I touched him. It was something that I shouldn't have been doing. And I take that experience and I tell parents, look, gosh, you think about what you did, perhaps as a kid, and just telling your kids is not going to be enough. It's our responsibility.
It is our responsibility
as a firearm owner to make sure that our kids are safe. And how do we do that? We lock our firearms. It's as simple as that. And so I think that's the key message: is safe storage, is making sure that we're doing that first step, that first key step to keep our kids safe and not ending up in the ER as a tragedy. Simple as that. And then we also talk about just safe children. Do kids know what to do? And there are plenty of families whose kids don't have guns in the home, and so they don't feel like they need to teach that to their kids. What kind of how to respond in that situation? But I think it's gosh, hugely important that a kid knows if they do come upon a gun, no matter where they're at, whether it's in someone else's home or grandparents' home, that they need to know how to respond. What do I do as a kid when that comes up and I face that situation? Well, you stop, you don't touch, and you run away and you tell somebody. Those are the simple steps, and you continue to repeat those. It's not just a one-time learning like everything else in life. You just don't learn. Yeah, you got to repeat it. You put, you kind of hit the repeat button on the VCR, and you just kind of keep playing that over and over, and you talk about it, as much as you can with your kids. So the message kind of gets there at some point, and they understand, all right, I need to walk away from this situation. Don't pick up the gun, don't touch it, and stay safe. And then the final part of this is the whole safe play. So when your kids go to someone else's house, having that tough conversation of, hey, do you guys have firearms in the home? Are they locked up? Because my kids are going to be here. And I can tell you from my firsthand experience, my 8-year-old will get into anything and everything. And there's nothing that's kind of
off
limits for him. Yep. And so it's not, and I'll talk to other families and I say, it's not about your kids or it's about my child, and I know what he'll do. And if he's in your house, he's going to find things. It's just his natural talent.
That's good to inform parents to ask those questions, because my kiddos went to a sleepover like 2 weekends ago, and it was 6 or 7 11-year-olds, and I didn't even think to ask the parents that question. But just because our home might be under gun safety, or not every home is like that, and that would be awful.
And then you put peer pressure to in that scenario as well. So you get other kids together, and the response is not always going to be a positive one when you kind of have that scenario with kids. I know firsthand growing up, and so making sure that we're keeping other kids safe as well, because no one knows what's going on in our home. But I really don't want to be the one where someone else comes into my home and they find a gun.
Gosh,
and
can imagine.
You can't imagine the pain. I can't imagine the pain. But to go through some of these scenarios with families in our interventions to show them, gosh, despite what you've talked about and what the kids will repeat, they will find that gun, pick it up, look down the barrel, put their finger on the trigger, and it's just chilling. It's just, the hair on the back of my neck goes up right now, just thinking about that.
Yeah.
But how simple a safety step we can do at home. And again, there's no political intent to this. It's just all about keeping our kids safe, and how we can do that in a responsible way. And gun owners are responsible, and no one's saying they're not. But we all get complacent, whether it's pools and poisons, whatever it is, we all become complacent in our lives.
What about in the car? Like, because I guess that might be something else. See too, a parent gets out to pump gas or something, and a child accesses a gun.
Yep, that happens unfortunately more often than we would all think. Or it's not even your own car; it's somebody else's car that your children are in as well. So, and they make safety devices for your cars that you can actually put the gun away, and so keep your family safe. When you think about just guns in general, we have guns in our home because we want to keep our family safe, but we don't realize that we're putting our family at risk, our kids at risk, when you have a gun that's not stored properly and loaded. I mean, that's a 24-hour risk, 365 a year that we're all kind of prepared for this one event that may never happen to us. Not saying it couldn't, but it may never happen to you, but your kids are in that scenario every single day. And it's a fight for them. And
they're curious, and they don't, especially if you don't have those conversations with them.
And kids will still be curious. And again,
that's true.
I think the most sensitive topics are the ones that are most important to have. And so talking through those, how to open the conversation and let the child talk and get their ideas on what fears they might have or don't have, and ask them what they think about, a gun, because we see so often that kids play video games and things. There are guns and different games where it's just not the reality, right? They see a death or something, and it's not real because it's a game. And so it's really important to distinguish a change from the game and what can happen in reality with the tangibles, and open up the discussion. When you do that, then you give that child permission to think through it and not just be tempted to go look at it because we're not supposed to.
Yeah, because know that they're going to. If it's there, they're gonna get their hands on it. Yeah, and I know of kids that your parents used to keep their guns in the top shelf of their closet. My kid could get on top of the refrigerators, just look at these splits, So, but we have a gun safe, and I'm always a little bit paranoid, so I always get those little gun locks that you stick through the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The little, I don't shoot myself, but anyhow, when I come across, it's like, trigger lock.
Yep.
Thank you. It's like I collect those because my husband and my son, and they all, are big gun people and love to hunt and things like that. But safety is really important. So anytime I come across something like that, it's like, oh, I might pick up one of these and give it to this person.
Yeah,
and,
no, definitely. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about kids and guns that kids don't know where my guns are in the home. Kids will never touch my guns despite what I've told them. All these things that I think as parents kind of have a false sense of security about when they already know where the guns are. They have already touched them, perhaps in many cases. And so that becomes really scary.
Well, thank you very much. I tell you what, we're at the end of the show. Thank you, Dr. Guzman, Dana, for joining us this evening. We'd love to have you back in the future. Join us again next week for the Reach Across Johnson County segment on JoCo Community Radio.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.